My lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome back to Transport Fever 2. Now, as you can surmise by the appearance of this video, I have managed to put my technical problems behind me, touch wood. It did seem that the old PSU was the causes, or the source of the problems that I was having. So after replacing and upgrading the power supply for the computer, we are now back up and running again. So while it was, an expensive enough little hiccup, it could have been far worse, and I'm pleased I was able to correctly diagnose it without too much further hassle. It could have been far worse, of course. It could have been something to do with the processor, the motherboard, anything like that, but no, it was just the PSU, and we are now back on our feet, and touch wood, everything seems to be running a-okay. And we've had no hiccups since, and I've done a little bit of testing, of course, just to make sure we are stable, and by and large we do seem to be pretty good. So I thank you for your patience over the past few weeks. Obviously first we had COVID, which is never fun, and then we had the technical problems, which, like I said, touch wood, are now behind us, and we can just press on at speed. So here we are then, back in Transport Fever 2, thankfully. This is Brookston, obviously. Some of our trains just departing there, and if we bring up the UI, we can see we're looking very healthy, around about 140 million in the bank, decent cash flow, and we are in 1939, so we're slowly progressing through the eras. So what have we got up to recently then? So we have replaced the trains on this little commuter line with the Flying Scotsman. We did that at the end of the previous episode. So they're now all running with a Flying Scotsman, and of course that means we upgraded our mainline trains from the Flying Scotsman to the A4 Mallard, and they seem to be doing quite nicely. However, we are going to be turning our attention away from the passenger lines, not that we did much with the passenger lines in the last episode, and we are going to continue with the hauling freight and the cargo side of things. And what I'd like to do today is make a start on bringing this industry online over here. So this industry produces goods, and to produce those goods they take two inputs, plastic and steel. Now steel we have readily available right here, and we can just bring that in via some trucks. It's a relatively short distance, there's no harm in doing that, and arguably a train line between these two would be a bit too short to make it worthwhile, so we will just do road vehicles on this one, getting the steel from the steel mill up to here. To get the plastics in, we need to come in from this chemical plant right here on the other side of this little hill ranges of hills right here. So we need to get plastics through up to here as well. Now to get the plastics we need to get some refined oil in, which we have to bring in all the way from over here. Now my current thinking, my current plan in my head is we'll have obviously another line from here that runs down this line, cuts through, bypasses through the fuel station, links up to the Eastern Freight Line, comes up here, comes through here, and drops off the refined oil. What we would then have is a second service that loads up on the plastics, runs on a line perhaps through this bit of terrain here, over to the goods factory and drops them off. And then what we would do is, because to haul plastics it is a boxcar, likewise to haul goods it's also a boxcar, is that train what's taken the plastic, I might have it then wait here, load up on goods, bring them back, but instead of coming back into this station, have them come back in here, drop off the goods here, before heading back here to pick up more plastic. And then in this station here we have plenty of lines active to various cities already. And because we're shipping machinery from this factory, we have a similar situation with the plastics and the goods. The machinery is transported via boxcars, so any goods that get dropped off here, they could be loaded into the same wagons as the machinery. So take for example this train here, which is currently waiting for a full load of machinery. We could have it split its load. I'm not sure what the proportion would be, I don't want to say 50-50. But yeah, having it split its load between the machines and the goods, and then one train would serve both goods into the cities, or into each city. So this train here, for example, is going to Axbridge. So rather than just being a pure machinery train, it could also take some goods with it into Axbridge as well. Herne Bay would just be a trucking route. Again, it's quite short, and the logistics of trying to get a line round here nicely would be a nightmare. So handling Herne Bay's deliveries by truck is going to be okay. The machine train into Epping, again, we'd have it split so that they also take some goods. And of course we'd do the same for our last city, Long Eaton, which we haven't yet set up a line from George Stephenson into Long Eaton, but when we do, we'd have it transport both of these commodities because they use the same freight wagon. So I hope that makes sense. I think it should work. It might not be the most efficient way to do it in the world, of course, I accept that. But I'm not going for efficiency here. I'm just going for what makes sense from a logistical point of view. Bearing in mind the train we're working with, which isn't too bad in all fairness, but also our current infrastructure and network and how we can adapt it to fit in these two new industries right here. So with that in mind, I have made a bit of a start down here. All I've done is I've put in, well, we have this platform here already, and this is where the refined oil is dropped off at the fuel refinery. So my current thinking is the train to the plastics factory, to the chemical factory, would use this platform to travel through. Now previously it did just terminate at the end of the platform, but I have now connected it into the line, as we can see with these two extra bits of track here. So we'd be able to pass straight on through. Now it might have to wait from time to time while the refined oil train is dropping off here, but because it's only unloading, they shouldn't be here for very long. So if they have to wait for a couple of minutes, then that's fine. They would then pass on through. Like I said, they'd connect into the Eastern Freight Line. And then up here, what I've done is past these two, they're not even active lines, they're just a bit of scenery, but past these two siding lines here, we have another platform, and this platform is where the goods will eventually be dropped off onto. However, we want to get past all of this and up to here. So my current thinking would be round about here, where we have a little bit of space thanks to this road bridge or tunnel. Yeah, it is a tunnel, it's not an either or, it's definitely a tunnel. We'd have a line that sweeps away, heads up the hill and into a station here. And then obviously that train would then head all the way back to the Axbridge fuel refinery to pick up another load of fuel, and that'll be its journey forevermore. But then we'd have a two platform station here, one what's receiving the refined oil and one where the train gets loaded up with plastics to head to here. So the first thing we're going to need then is that two platform station right here. So we only want two tracks, we want it as long as possible, and we don't want high speed at this point. And let's give it, what the heck, let's give it a direct connection like that and save messing around with roads and the likes. So this is Herne Bay Branch. It's not actually a bad name for that, but I'm going to leave it as Herne Bay Branch for now, and I welcome any and all suggestions for a potential name for this station. So let me know there down below if you do have any suggestions for a nice name for this station. It could be similar to what we have over here. We have George Stephenson Station. That's obviously no bearing on any of you guys, any of the viewers or subscribers. But of course, if you want to see your own name being loaned to the station, then just let me know. Anyway, so we want to connect this in down there. Now we also want to make sure our train, after it's dropped off the plastic and picked up the goods over here, can get into this station. So we have to think about how we want to do that as well, because we don't want to be fighting ourselves when we're trying to set that up. So what would be the best way to handle that? Well, if we want this line to run through these hills here and take the scenic route, we're going to have our station somewhere around here. Now that then I was going to say we could have a terminus station there, but what we could, yeah, no, in fact I think we will. I was going to say we could then extend the line into Epping to have a direct service from this factory into Epping with the goods. However, Epping's freight yard is over here, and trying to get that line through all of this, we've got this industry and this, yeah, we'll call it a mountain, this mountainside right here, and this passenger line. It would be a bit of a nightmare. If we wanted to do a direct run into Epping, I think we just do it overland. Well, of course, this is all overland, but we'd do it over the roads and have some trucks running into Epping. It's not too far away. But yeah, we'll come to that later. I got sidetracked. So if we're coming in this way-ish, and our station's roughly around here, looking at the potential approach angle, we want a way to get a line potentially into this line here. Now we have 2 tunnels here, which means we can't just connect into the tunnel, but we do have an open space right here. So would we want to bring in a line down this way to connect into here, and then this would go on into George Stephenson Station, but then we need to get the train back from George Stephenson Station up to here. So are we going to be better off just passing straight through this and this station and doubling back on ourselves? I think yes, because we need to get back up here so we can pick up more plastics. So if this is a platform we're saying we're going to drop our goods into, we want this platform to connect up into this station here. Now this is going to be quite slow and quite tight because of the angle of that station there. In fact, arguably we probably want to put that station in a bit more convenient of a location, sort of like this instead. I think that's what we're looking for, because we can still head through the scenic route given that angle of approach, but it just gives us less of a headache when we're trying to connect into George Stephenson Station. So before we start laying the tracks, let's check our terrain. So I've gone to the height map. So up here, what are we at? 82 meters. Okay. Down here, what are we at? 37. Well, that's quite a difference. So this is going to be a steep incline track, and there's probably not much we can do about that. As we can see there, if we were to do that, that's a 5% gradient, and we're not even where we need to be. We're still 20 meters short on that one. 6.4%, and there isn't a great deal we can do about that, and I think that looks hideous. So what we'll do, we'll relocate the station once again, and this time shall we sink it down into the ground a little bit, but then we're going to be submerged, so to speak, when we want to be climbing up through all of this terrain here. Interesting. Now, I don't think there's a great deal we can do with the terrain. We could smooth off. Let's get this nice and big. This is going to be expensive. If we just do a big smooth across there, that's not going to do anything, so that's a waste of time. I don't know why I did that. Let's see here. Why don't we just drop this down until the platform is level with the ground on our near side. And let's just rotate it just a little bit. No, in fact, let's not rotate it. Let's have it right there. Like that. And then, of course, we've got some hideous terrain things going off here, so we will smooth that off. Look at that, 2.5 million just to do around the station there. And even that's not made it perfect. Right, so what we'll do now then, let's get ourselves a cargo building. And we'll have a couple of large ones. And then some of these. And then we'll have a road run along these that connects and links to the industry. Now for this we're not going to run anything down here, so we can just use the smallest available roads. Like that. And hopefully this will give us an active connection despite the length. So we have a connection there. Yes, they're linked. Okay, then we can do something with this road a little bit later, although there's nothing nearby. So it's just going to have to terminate abruptly and randomly. Let's just smooth some more of that off there where the road is. Okay. So what height are we at now then? Let's check now. 71, so we've lost 10 meters. And that's quite a change actually. So now how would it look? So we're coming out, what we up at? We're 5%. Oh, it's actually dropping up, going up again. 5.2, 4.9. And how does it look? Well, we could do that, but that's going to increase our max gradient on this line. So we'll keep our max gradient as low as possible, which is not too low, 4.9%. So it's quite a climb. But of course we do have access to some pretty decent locos in terms of their tractive effort and power. So let's then do something like this. So that way we have the link up into here. Let's just do a little bit of smoothing on this new stretch of track here, just to blend in the terraforming that the game did. That's better. So we have a way then to get refined oil up to here. So we may as well set that up, and we do have an active link already. So shall we say then that we're dropping, let me think, in fact, let's do something here. Let's do something a little different. Let's remove this platform. Let's run along a new stretch of track here, and then yet another stretch of track on the outside. Let's then put a platform on the far edge, like that. And let's just go back to here, remove this, like so. And let's have this come into these two middle tracks now. So that way when our train is coming from here loaded with goods, they can pass straight on through the middle without interfering with a train that perhaps is loading up with plastics here or dropping off refined oil. So it's almost like these two center stretches of track here are just bypass tracks straight on through, and then we can bring these two in on either side like that. We will need a diamond, so we'll go ahead and give ourselves a diamond if it's going to let us. Let's go for a minimum of 60, so a fairly rapid crossing there, and that opens up the two outer platforms, or the two platforms. This then, we're going to have it continue off. Now here the terrain is going to be ridiculous, and we're going to have to either have it very steep, the maximum is 7.5%, and even with max gradient we're looking at a pretty substantial tunnel through that initial section, as we can see. Unfortunately there's no two ways about that. If we wanted to give it a more reasonable gradient, our tunnel is going to be even longer. If we get that to 6% there, and then from here we'll do what we can to cut out any remaining gradient as we're heading over here. So we're not going to finish this line at the moment, we just line it down here, just so we know what's coming. No, that's the wrong side. Of course it is. Yeah, just so we know what we're doing in the long run. Why are you being silly? Fair question. No answers for you. What are you doing? Have I gone on the wrong side again? No, I haven't. Okay. Well, I tell you what then. If you want to be silly, let's just take you back. Let's get the leveling tool. Reduce the size. And do this. Now it's going to give us some very artificial looking terrain. But we can do something with that later on. The main thing it's doing for us is giving us a good stretch of track to kind of to get our runoffs in place. You really don't want to go parallel there, do you? I'm not sure why you're doing that. Now we seem to be a bit more pliable. There we go. So yeah, this is just to indicate what our future intentions are, and it's very steep. However, we can get away with it. And then we want, let me think here. Well, we only want one of these connected in, because one is receiving the refined oil here, so it's not, that train will not be going any further on. However, one is picking up the plastic. So if we have this line here, or this platform here, as the one that loads the plastic, and then this platform here is the one that receives the refined oil, then we can do that. And then we don't need a diamond here, but we do need a crossing like that. In fact, no we do not. Yes we do. Or even better, what we could do, get rid of all that, to make it a bit tidier, is if this line is the one that's receiving plastic, then that can join into the line to head up to the goods factory and through the tunnel, and we don't need to cross it over, because when it's coming back onto this platform, it's coming from this direction. So we don't need to have a crossing from this line here into here, because this line will be straight through. So then we don't need this side here, if I can get it, that bit there. We don't need that. We need this because the refined oil train needs to get back, or it needs to get off onto that platform, and then it comes down and leaves this way. The train loaded with goods comes through and down here, and then that same train comes back up here, off onto this platform, loads up with more plastic, leaves, joins and carries on. So that should work okay. So we need to sort signaling out, but we can do that in a few moments. In fact, let's do it now, because what we can do straight away is get the train running from the oil refinery up to here. So let's just go for some small signals on this stretch, and let's have, well, this is all one way up at this point, so we'll have a one-way signal there that protects access through the station. We'll have a block here like so, and we'll have one more about here like that, and then we'll have one there controlling access into the station. This is all one way, so we can put a one-way signal there, and yeah, let's put one there as well, and we could put one there. This is also one way, so we can put one there. And let's just have one just before the tunnel entrance for now, like that. Whoops. So what we can do then, like I said, is set up a line that brings in refined oil from here all the way up to here. So we'll need, or we'll want, another new platform at this station that's going to handle that. So let's give them a track down here, like so. We already have this side of the platform, so I don't need any new platforms. We're good on that front. And we want this connected into this line. So let's have him come down like that. What's that? Is that 50 mile an hour minimum there, or slowest? Yep, that's fine. Let's also have this be double tracked here. Just with a view to easing the traffic down here. And we'll have them run as a quad track, at least temporarily. And again, that's just for alleviating the traffic as much as we can. And then we'll have them cross over and merge into this line here just before we cross over the passenger line. Sort of like that. There we go. So we need to do a few extra signal shenanigans over here then. And let's have the 3 aspect on this one. So we want a signal, not there, that's the wrong way. Zoom out so I can actually delete it easier, there we go. So we want a signal there and there, protecting this merge point. We'll have a signal here and here to clear the junction behind, and this might be short, but we'll have one there as well, and we'll have one there to clear the platform, and that should be fine. So let's try this now. So we want a new line. Oops, we already have a new line here, that's doing nothing, and this is going to be black, so it's going to be the same colour as this one, but maybe we can go for, well, we have dark grey already, the fuel, and let's just go for black. In fact, no, let's go for yeah, let's go for dark grey because I want to be able to see the difference on this bit here. So we're coming from Herne Bay Oil Refinery, platform 3. We want it to be fully loaded at all times with an infinite wait time. We're loading refined oil, and we're going to be heading down here through this station. So if we want to make sure they're coming through this station, then what we want to do is tell them to use this signal as a waypoint on their outbound journey. They're going to connect into here, run up here. All this is shared. And they are then coming up this way. They're then dropping off on that platform, and they've correctly chosen the right platform. And then they're heading back down here, down here, down here, through this platform here. So there might be a little bit of waiting and traffic build-up at this point while this single track is being used by another train, but that's fine. Similarly, we might have a bit of waiting time here, but again, that's fine. And they're coming all the way back down. They are coming, we want them to come back that way, through there. Again, might have to wait a little bit while this is being used, but so be it. They're coming back up here. Yep, they're using that, and then they're coming to this platform right here. Perfect. So let's give this a name, shall we? So this is RC Rail Cargo, and this is refined oil, and this is going to Herne Bay Chem Plant. There we go. So let's get ourselves a train. What we'll do, with a view to hoping that the train stops here first, is we'll give this a direct connection in like that. Doesn't need to be two-way because it's only coming through this way because our depot is up here. So by vehicles. Now bearing in mind, let's move that down a little bit, we don't want 1,000,001 trains running down here because of traffic. So I think we want a small number, maybe even just one, big trains. So let's go for... How are you compared to the A47? Well, you're a lot better. A little bit slower, but your power and tractive effort a lot better, and you're only £600,000 more expensive per year. Yeah, let's go for the BRE94. One of those. Now this is only hauling refined oil and not bringing anything back, so we can just go straight for the tank cars, and we will have them black, and in fact we'll also have the locomotive itself be black as well. And we can just really overload this. Now we have, is it 300 meter platforms? So we can, look at that, we've only just dropped down to good, and we're at 279 capacity. Let's go for 300 meters. 303. And how's that going to do? Well, that just eats all the gradients for lunch. 37 million. Woo. Well, we can afford it. And we'll stick to one, and I'll just paint the whole thing, so I want the loco covered, painted as well. And put you onto that line. Now everything is electrified, so that's not a problem. So you should now start populating oil onto this platform, hopefully. Is that connected? Yeah, it's definitely connected. So you should have oil, you should now be calling for the refined oil, and you should now be producing it for them as well. Yep, there we go, look. Our first few units are being created. Not sure why they're not showing up on the platform yet, but I'm sure they will in due course. So what we want to check now is if that we've got a strong supply of crude oil. And we have some pretty big trains. Is it just the one train we have bringing in crude oil? Actually, I think it is, looking at it. So we might want to think about doubling up, just so we always have a strong supply here. Especially because we're feeding such a gargantuan train. We don't want it waiting around unnecessarily, because we don't have a counterpart on the lines that can fill in the gaps while it's loading. Now, what's your production? You produce 1600, but you're only shipping 1200. So that's per year. You can haul 306. So theoretically, we could have just under 4 trains on this line. So I think I will duplicate this one and have 2, and hopefully they'll space themselves out nicely, and we'll have one up here and then one dropping off down here. Okay, so I think that's where we'll end it for today's episode. What we'll do is we'll have a ride on our brand new train, but we'll have a look at it first. And what we'll do, we'll take a ride from the refined oil station over to the plastics factory station, the chemical plant, which is Herne Bay branch, I believe. But as I said earlier, I do welcome any suggestions for an alternate name for that one. So when he gets here, because he might load up here, and that could take a while. So if you just pass, but yeah, either way, when he's leaving this station, whether it's passing through or loading, we'll hop on board, and we'll use that as our outro. So we'll just wait a few minutes here. I'll put a little cut in at this point, and we'll join it just as it's leaving this station. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, we're on board. As you can see, we only have 5 units of refined oil. I did give it a few minutes at maximum speed, but for now the industry is prioritising production of refined oil for the fuel refinery, so it was taking quite a while to even get this many units of refined oil. So we're just going to hop on and have a, well, as near as damn it empty run up to the chemical plant, but that should be fine. Over time, the industry should start balancing out its production orders a little better, and the waiting around shouldn't be quite as bad. That's quite nice time as a Flying Scotsman goes on past. That will be going to Herne Bay, probably. I can't remember what colour line is for which city. I think the burgundy line was Herne Bay. Oh, there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. As always, comments, feedback and suggestions are more than welcome down below. And as I mentioned earlier, and I'll just reaffirm, if anyone has any name suggestions or ideas for the new station, or any of the stations for that matter, or any trains, then let me know down below and I'll do my best to honour them. Of course, priority goes to the patrons, so thank you very much for all of you who are pledging over on that. It's greatly appreciated, and yeah, it's a very nice gesture, thank you very much. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.